Hello, everyone, and welcome to Edge Talk Radio. My name is Angela Zabel, that's me, and today we are going to be talking to Larry Freeborg from Wisconsin, same state I am, very cool. We are going to be talking about the choice from grief to hope, and that's a big one. So, who am I? My name is Angela Zabel. I have connected to spirit, working with the team in the non-physical my entire life, sharing messages from a multitude of realms with people. I'm a teacher, coach, medium, radio show host, writer, retreat host, gallery reader, doing speaking engagements, offering guidance, mediumship, intuition, with online private and group sessions, classes, and the Amplified Universe monthly membership group, growing our connection to us, our world, all that is around us, and our role in it. I have been working with people and sharing knowledge throughout the world. You can find me on pretty much all the social media aspects. Go to my website, angelazabel.com. Now I'm going to try to get this in focus. Let's see how good I do. So we are here with Edge Magazine. Edge Magazine is a leading events and media resource dedicated to all aspects of holistic living, health, wellness, and the mysteries beyond, sharing information, wisdom, and resources, committed to promoting businesses, organizations, and individuals who support our collective journey to wholeness and balance. They're currently distributed in 30 states and Canada, with over 17,000 magazines per printing and a vibrant online magazine with over 42,000 people reached per month. Have the magazine shipped to your door, stay up to date with the newsletter, become a drop spot, and also check out Kelly Wagner on the Being Curious show, also on Edge Magazine, and you can find out more at edgemagazine.net. They're also on pretty much all the social media aspects. And today we are here with Larry Freeborg. At the age of 40, life as he knew it ended in a single week. Just after Christmas in 1979, he lost his wife to leukemia, and days later, his job of 18 years. Suddenly, he was widowed. He was a widowed father of four with no income and no roadmap forward. What followed wasn't a quick recovery, but decades-long journey of learning how to grieve, how to lead with love, and how to rediscover hope in the face of unimaginable loss. Along the way, he discovered a simple but powerful truth. No matter what life takes away, you are always at choice. Today, he is the author of Always at Choice and the founder of Stepping Through the Gate, a wise elder coaching service. I like that. Through his writing and coaching, he helps individuals move from significant losses into a place of healing, renewal, and fully engaged with life possibilities. He also partners with business leaders to clarify what they want to create in the workspace, working side by side to navigate challenges and to unlock solutions. Larry's mission is simple yet profound, to remind others that while loss changes everything, it never takes away the power to choose, to heal, to grow, and to live again. And there's two ways to find Larry. So one of his is alwaysatchoice.net, and I'm going to spell that for those listening. It's ALWAYSATCHOICE.net. And the other one is steppingthroughthegate.com. That is STEPPINGTHROUGHTHEGATE.com. And he also has his book, The Always at Choice, Strategies for Moving On After the Death of a Spouse or Life. And he has coaching. You can set up a free consultation, and you can reach him at the at choice.net. Work with me. Those links will be down below. He's also on LinkedIn and through his website. So all that information will be down below. And I just want to say, Larry, thank you so much for being here. I'm so happy to have you on. And I've got to ask, how did you come to create the book, Always at Choice? What was the catalyst for you?
Well, it's an interesting thing because how the book ended up isn't how I really started. I started with wanting to develop a book on strategic business planning and business development because that's what I did for a living. But as I kept working the idea, and I thought about writing a book for 20 years, never felt that I was adequate, never felt I was good enough or that I could actually write a book. So once I made a choice to write the book, because I'm always a choice, but I had to make a choice to write the book. Once I made the choice, I decided to get help. And as I started to write, it kept coming to me. It isn't about business planning. It isn't about strategic business direction. It's really about how to help people live more effective lives if they had a major traumatic experience in their life. And that's how Always That Choice came about. Always That Choice is a result of me finally admitting that I didn't know how to handle being a widower with 4 kids and trying to work a big job at a corporation. And it required me to seek some help. And it was in the psych ward where I was getting help, where this wonderful nurse just told me that I was going to have to grow up, just pushed me up to the ceiling. And she said,
I think that would push me up to the ceiling.
I said, what do you mean grow up? I'm doing all this at the company that I'm working for, blah, 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 all the stuff that I do in the community. She said, well, no, what I'm really trying to get you to realize that you're a choice about how you want to feed your kids or take care of your kids. And I realized that what I wanted to be was a good father, not necessarily a great business person. So for me, it shifted my whole purpose, my whole reason for being was to show up for my kids. And Always That Choice became, let's say, the foundational piece of my thinking of how did I want to live the next however many years I get. I was 40 at the time.
That's pretty, I mean, that's a lot to go through for anyone at any age to go through that much loss at the same time. And I know as we were reading it also, it was not only the loss of your wife, but then the loss of your job at the same time or very shortly thereafter. And as you were dealing with that, is there a way, I mean, for a while you couldn't deal with it. At what point did you decide you needed help? What was the catalyst that caused you to say, I need help, I can't do it on my own?
I'm just going to skip back one point because what really made it a little more of a tragedy, unemployment was 7.4% at the time.
Oh,
So,
geez.
which
Oh
was
my,
even more than it is right now.
yeah.
So now I'm really scared. Now I'm scared of how am I going to get through life, take care of these 4 kids. And actually, the catalyst was I was starting to not keep my promises. I
Mm,
was very active in my community. I had responsible positions, and requests were being made of me that I couldn't keep. And
mhm.
I finally went to the office one day and broke down and cried and realized, this isn't working. I need to ask for help. So I went to my folks first. And my dad wisely said, is there anybody at the office that you could talk to? And so I went to the office and told them what my plight was. And the psychiatrist said, would you be willing to go into the psych ward? Normally, for a lot of people at my age back then in 1980, that would have been a trigger.
Yeah.
And as a trigger, um,
I think then though things were looked at differently than what they are now.
yeah,
When you needed help, it was looked at so differently than what it is now.
thank you for that bridge because what I was trying to say is that in my business life, I had learned to use outside consultants.
Mm,
That was a big thing because I grew up thinking that I should have all the answers.
yes.
And I was willing to ask for help in my business life. And I said, well, what difference is it there if I'm asking for help in my business life or asking for help in my personal life? So I decided there wasn't any stigma for me to go ask for help in my personal life. And that was a wonderful thing. If I had to carry along a lot of guilt or shame or all that stuff with getting help, that would not have been good. But because I didn't see any reason that I should feel shameful about it, I just was a person that was in need of stronger help than I was able to give myself.
I think that's really important for people to hear, though, to look at it because there always has, I think there's a lot of times been a stigma with getting help. And I think, like you had said, when you're getting help, you should look at it no differently than going for a business consultation or getting a consultation for anything else. Even a medical consultation, if something isn't right, you go to a consultation with a specialist. And I think that is so freeing for people to look at it that way because a lot of people you look at it as, oh my gosh, I hear it again and again, like I feel like I failed because I couldn't figure it out on my own.
Right.
And instead it should be, well, isn't it an achievement to realize you need other people in your life? It should be celebrated.
It's one of my major 12 beliefs is that I believe in asking for help. When I get stuck and I'm struggling, I find somebody that can help me, which is what happened when after 20 years thinking about the book, I finally figured out how to ask somebody to help me write the book. Now, interestingly enough, it was a publishing service that took me through the whole thing, through the writing part. And at the beginning, I knew I wasn't a very good writer, so I asked for a writing coach. So for the first 3 chapters, I had a writing coach review my work and give me feedback. Oh, I'll tell you, the publisher that I had was outstanding in the support that they gave me in terms of writing, just the overall, what do you do in the steps of publishing? But they also assigned me an editor. So again, I had to learn how to take feedback from somebody, but an editor that take a look at my book, and she just shifted it just a little bit, but it made such a difference in terms of the readability of the book for others. So I've always been grateful to my publisher. And then they took me through the Publishing Act and then now into the marketing of the book. I mean, all that stuff I didn't know, right? I'm learning all this new stuff. Even talking to you is a brand new experience.
That is true. And here you are.
Yes.
And then, I mean, you were learning a lot of things and also just learning. And I think my team is kind of nudging me. For those who don't know, I have a team in the non-physical, and they're kind of nudging me. And they're saying to go in a little deeper on that because, a lot of people think like you're writing a book, it's so simple and easy to do, or you just go through it. They don't realize the amount of, a lot of times, criticism you have to take and learn to take to change things around to make it better. How was that for you? Did you look at it differently? Did you look at the criticism at first, kind of like, whoa? Or did you kind of look at it as, okay, this is helping? Was it a gradual creation as you went?
One of my other belief systems was that I became a lifelong learner. It's just, so I'm still learning here at the 87. I'm taking 2 courses right now, one on horses and the other one on how to have a positive mindset. And
Wow.
the interesting thing about always being open from learning is that took me to exactly what your team is telling you about where did I learn? Because I had to learn that I create my reality in language. That was big. That was a whole nother approach to how to live life. The other one is that so much of my reactions were in my emotions and they lived in my body. And my body was the big place to intervene, not in my head and not just in my emotions, but in my body is where I actually felt a lot of the sadness, a lot of the fear, the aspirations that I had. I just had to get my body in shape to do some of the things that I was doing.
And what you talk about the emotions getting in the body and being in that body. How did you start identifying, and maybe what were the first things you identified in your that was affecting your body, and how was it affecting you?
Uh, I would say fear is a big impactor on my body. And I get a chance to experience fear in my throat, in my
Oh,
upper chest. I had fear one time so bad when I was in California for a meeting. I had like a softball in my stomach. It was
oh,
so big that I was just curled up like a baby. around my fear. So learning how to manage my experience with fear was really important for me to get anything done, including my fear of, let's say, writing a book that nobody wanted.
That's a big fear out there.
Yeah, it is. Well, I find out only 2% of the population have the courage to go ahead and write books. So I,
Really?
yeah.
Huh.
So if you've written books, you made a lot of progress too.
Nice. And that my team wants me to back up too with when we were talking about fear because and you started recognizing when fear where it started manifesting itself in your body.
Right.
And as you started feeling that and understanding where it was manifesting first, what did you do to help work yourself through the fear?
Most of my learning, Angela, is experiential learning.
Mhm.
It's not like I could read this in a book and get it. I have to experience a way of approaching it. And then because I've experienced it, if it's worked for me, that's what I tried to pass along in the book. So one of the places that I learned how to work with fear was at an outward bounded experience on a high ropes course. And
Oh,
one of the big lessons of learning about fear in a high ropes course, it's false expectations appearing real. In other words, you've made it up in your mind what you're afraid of. And that also got echoed in my next place of learning, which was whitewater rafting, because I
yeah.
went whitewater rafting with my son and we got dumped on this big wave into the water, which had all sorts of other ramifications, but it was frightening for me to be in the water. And then the next day I got dumped out of the raft again. And so I'm really concerned about what am I doing with my son? I'm on these rafts and we're getting flipped off. And so again, the lesson of learning how to ask for help. This happened to be a whitewater rafting trip, which is, they invited river guides from the States down to Costa Rica to guide the rafts. So I went up to a river guide. I figured, well, they had to deal with people that were afraid before. And the one guy had some really interesting information. He said, you know, what I experience is sometimes when people do whitewater rafting and they get tossed out, they start anticipating the rapids. And then they stack them one on top of the other. So here's a rapid. Okay, now here's the next rapid. Here's the next rapid, next rapid. And in their minds, they're going over this big rapid instead of
Oh,
one rapid at a time. So that became an important part of my learning about how to deal with fear. You know, don't imagine something so big, just take it one step at a time. The next guy that I talked to said, you know, I hear a lot of things about the fear of whitewater rafting. He said, honestly, most people get hurt on the on the ground playing badminton or volleyball or catch or something like that. So the idea was follow the rules, and if you happen to get dumped out, go feet down and don't step in the river because you could break your leg. And so that made sense. And the third guy had the best information. He said, you know, you're here to have fun, which should be a version of living life, right? You're here.
yeah, absolutely.
He said, if you jump into the river when there's no rapids to worry about, you'll find out the river is nice and warm. It's 37 degrees warmer than if you were up in the States right now. And and I thought, oh my God, I swam for the University of Minnesota. I was on a record-breaking relay team, and here I
Oh,
am afraid of the water. This is dumb. This is just dumb. So I decided I was going to relax and enjoy the trip. So I also
wow.
used wisdom. I didn't go on class 4 and class 5 rapids after
That's a very good point though. Know your limits.
that. Yes.
Don't do the high stuff.
Yeah. So those were two ways that I learned how to deal with fear. The other one I got that I had forgotten, but somebody that was in my circle of friends that I had coached said, you know, you always used to tell me this, and it always made a lot of sense. that wherever you go, there you are. So a
Mhm.
lot of times if people are, they want to run away, they want to go someplace, well, they don't realize that what they're taking with them is them.
That is true. That is true. You know, and that's very true with people try to escape where they're at or move away from what's causing issues. And I understand some things, you know, physical abuse, you need to get away.
Right.
But a lot of times it's your own self deciding if you're going to be afraid of what's there or not. As you went through, so you went through and you went with your son. Do you feel yourself, because of getting that help at the beginning, do you feel it's made a difference with your family, with your children?
Oh, I think I became a much better father through my learning journey. I could pass on different belief systems to them than my parents were able to pass on to me. So, as a coach, what I look for now is where's the source of belief systems that the person that I'm working with is dealing with. Because the biggest thing that people have when they're going through grief is their old belief system about what grieving is all about. They, they have some old thoughts. I know that my thoughts came from my parents, my thoughts came from people that went to church, my thoughts came from friends that I talked to, but I'd never really learned about the stages of grief or how that all worked. And at that time, in my opinion, there weren't a lot of books that were available on grief. Today there are. Today there's a lot of recovery systems that are out there that can help people deal more effectively than I had at that time. But it it's it's an emotion, a very serious emotion, one that actually starts when we're kids and we lose a pet or we lose our dolly or we lose, we don't get the grade that we wanted at school. Or I have a grandson who didn't qualify for varsity. He was just really
Mm.
upset that he wasn't chosen for varsity. So we deal with loss all the time, but the part is how do you get taught how to deal with loss? Because loss is just a part of life. And the lesson is you have to accept that it happened and then
Mm.
make a choice, because you're always a choice about how do you want to go on. The thing that really made a difference for me is I could live in grief a long time,
Mm.
and be in sadness. But when you take a look at it, my life is short too. I mean, am I going to live in grief all the time thinking about Shirley? Or am I going to make a choice what's next for me in my life? And I'm doing the same thing now that Dodie has passed. Am I going to live in grief because she's gone? I finally had to look and say, Dodie's gone. She's not going to be here anymore. She came to me today in our talk, but other than that, her physical presence is gone, but I can
Yes.
still connect with her. And that was the big lesson that I had to learn is that the women that I used to think the women that I loved would leave me because Dodie Shirley left, because my girlfriend had left, because my mom had been sick with Guillain-Barré and I didn't know if she was ever coming back.
Mm.
But once I realized the women that I love don't leave me, they stay with me forever.
Yes.
And so I'm always in their love, which is a much different way to develop relationships than to not trust the women that I'm dating are going to stay with me. So once I shifted my point of view, that's when I met Dodie.
You know, that's something so important for people to hear. It's shifting your perspective on those that have passed because, you know, for those that don't know, I am a medium. I work with those that passed, and there is such love and such support coming from the other side all the time. And it's us knowing, yes, they don't have a physical body anymore, but their spirit, their soul, their heart is still there with us. And I know earlier, I just feel like she's coming through again. But I just feel from her, from Dottie and your first wife too. I can't remember her name right off the bat, but I feel them both coming in, and it's just it's a knowing that you now have such a bigger support system for you.
Yeah.
They are there to be your support. They never meant to leave and be gone. And I just feel Dodie feels like she's really a force to be reckoned with because she's a
Yes.
little feisty and a force to be reckoned with. And she's just like, why would you ever think I'd leave you completely alone? Why
Yeah.
would you ever think that way? And
Well, I always said that she was the wind beneath my wings. She
yes,
allowed me to soar. It wouldn't have been possible without her in my life. So I have been so appreciative that she came into my life. I wouldn't have the home I have. I wouldn't have made all the travel that we did. I wouldn't have the loving children, family that I have without her help. My kids adore her, and I adore her. Her friends adore her. She's a classy, sassy lady.
she's sassy, all right. And and she's one that, she really didn't take stuff from other people so much. When
No,
somebody stepped across their boundaries, she made sure to let them know they stepped across the boundary. And
yeah,
that's so healthy. And she helped not only, and so didn't mean to make it a little bit of a reading here, but she wanted to help you find your boundaries because there had been people that were crossing their boundaries with you. And
yeah.
she helped you stand up to some of those people and really put some healthy boundaries in. But she also is so proud of the family you created.
Hmm.
And
She was a big part of it.
and she said that's something she was so happy to step into it. So
Hmm.
happy to be part of that family.
Hmm.
And your kids were her kids.
Yes, they were. They feel that
And
way even today.
yes, and she's just the mom that stepped in and but didn't do it in a way of taking over. It was very loving, very loving.
Yeah.
But I feel lucky and because when people pass in my life, I'm able to connect with them. But I know how difficult it is for people that don't feel them, don't have that instant connection like I've had throughout my life. So I feel very lucky for that. And I really feel for the people that we are going through grief. And I wish one of the things I could do is show people their loved ones standing next to them all the time. But you had to do it without that feeling right away. And that was so, so difficult. And there's so many other people that your grief takes over and you can't. And because of our beliefs, we're told they're gone.
Yes.
And that's the beliefs. And you said when you lost your first wife, Shirley, and now when you lost your second wife, Dottie, it's been different between the two. And you feel Dottie a little more and you feel a little more connection to her. Is that something that has been comforting to you? And has it been a more of going through your beliefs about death?
The beliefs about how to deal with death
Hmm.
really, the reality of what's true. I can't change that she's gone.
Right.
I can change how I look at it. So there's another belief system that I use out of my 12 belief systems. One is to be an observer of the observer I am.
Oh, interesting.
In other words, how I'm looking at the problem many times is the problem.
Oh,
It took me a
that is
while to
true.
get that. I went through that guy's course 3 times. I didn't get it. And finally I got, oh, that's what it is. How I'm looking at the problem could be the problem. And how I view what I'm taking care of is really important. I happen to believe a belief system that I adopted along the way that I'm accountable and responsible for what I create in my life. And one of the things that I'm accountable for is my mood, how I approach life. And so it's much better to approach it being grateful and counting my blessings than to be sad and depressed and feel like a victim and sorry for myself. So I'm managing my mood all the time. I call them blessings. I use blessings. Blessings are things that come to me that I don't have any control over, like birds, flowers, trees, animals, cows, horses, dogs, cats. It's just when you get into the mindset of how many things there are that are outside of just another human being living, there are
Mm.
so many ways to look at life going on all the time and so many things to appreciate that are gifted to you. They just show up, they're there. You just have to recognize them. And that's how I manage my mood through the tough times is I do 10 blessings a day. And I've got a couple people that share their blessings with me, so maybe I get 30 of their blessings a day. So that's on my 10, that's 40 blessings a day I get a chance to look at.
Wow. That is an awesome way to look at things, to look at the blessings that are there and to put that out into the world. And then also, I love the fact where you said you're accountable. It's no one else that's accountable. It's you. It's
Right.
you and what you're doing. And just that was that more of a gradual switch where you started realizing you're the one that all you are the central catalyst to everything.
Actually, it was another learning experience.
You've had quite a few learning experiences.
Yes, I'm just a constant learner. I learned the benefit of learning. So I just, uh, when things come to me that are beginning to reveal stuff that I didn't know, it's like I don't know your life. I don't know your experience. You're the one of the few mediums that I've, let's say, been exposed to in my life that I know of. There's been a couple, but it I get a chance now to learn about your role and the role that you're playing. And I think it's so wonderful that people have someone like you that they can talk to. That the biggest thing is trust.
Yes,
Can I trust you? And
yes,
and for me, trust lives in language about how do I keep my promises? Remember, I said I wasn't keeping my promises, and it broke me up. That I still want to be accountable and responsible for what I create in my life, and live responsibly and be someone that other people can trust. So it's an important move for me.
and I'm glad you brought that up. And there's just something my team is niggling at me. So there's something I like to tell people. Yes, I do mediumship, I do the other, and there's other people that do it, but it's always trust yourself, trust if you feel you trust the person first, because I'm the first one to let people know there are people out there that are not trustworthy.
Right.
So always keep that in mind. And I look at it, it's no different. I used to look at it differently, thinking anybody who was in this field was had to be coming from a space of a good heart, but it's just like any other field. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? Just like any other field, I used the belief system that there really were good people and bad people in the world, and I still believe that there are good people and bad people in the world. But it I know what kind of person I want to be, so that's
Right.
what I want to manage.
And that's the biggest thing. I like how you said that we look at it as good people and bad people, and it is, my team wants me to take my beliefs about good and bad, but more put people's choices. People choose one way or the other.
Yes,
And it's understanding, a lot of people, most people underneath have a really good heart on them. It's the choices they're making,
yeah.
and it's paying attention to the choice we all make every day. And that's something you've done. You've made choices along the way to make such a big impact, especially for your family,
Yeah.
creating something that could have gone catastrophically wrong and creating an environment for them to grow and thrive. And that was something you were so passionate about throughout your life. And for you, I keep my team just wants to recognize what a big step that was for you to recognize getting the help wasn't anything bad, but instead was something that you knew was going to help you and help your family. And sometimes people look at help that way as being bad or you don't want to tell anybody you're getting help. And I've got to just ask, between when you lost your first wife till now your second, till Dottie.
I'm gonna, can I interrupt? It's Dodie.
Dodie, that's not Dottie, Dodie. I had
My
an Aunt
fault. I probably
Dottie.
should have corrected it earlier. I
No,
apologize.
no, absolutely. Sorry, we had an Aunt Dottie, so I was doing Dottie instead of Dodie. Sorry about that. And I'm glad you corrected me. But how has it been differently from now to this time with Dodie? How has that been different? With the do you feel you needed as much help, or are you more feeling more centered?
Actually, I've felt more centered. I've gone back and read my own book at certain times for insight, and I thought, oh, well, God, that was pretty good insight. But um, I'm sitting in the place where I look at her cremations. I still haven't w- made the decision how to place them. But I realized that after I'd gone through all the sadness,
Yeah.
that Dodie was gone. She wasn't ever coming back. So I happened to choose to live my life on purpose, to have a
Mm.
to be of service and to live my life on purpose, which is to. And I kept looking for, well, what is that? What am I going to do now with my life? And I said, there must have been an angel that was on my shoulder and said, Larry, look at what you have. You've published your book now. You could talk about your book and you could share your story with others, maybe help them. And you could do podcasts. Or I'd never done a podcast before. I said, oh my God, something new again.
You're
But
an expert now.
well, what happened is I had wised up, so I hired somebody to help me connect up with people that can get me to the right podcasters, and then I wised up and I got somebody that could help me refresh my website because they were old, they didn't work. I didn't have one for my book. All that happened in about 2 or 3 months, getting the right help, but couldn't have been done if I didn't ask for help.
That's awesome. And I've got to ask, your book is called Always at Choice.
Yes.
Why did you choose that title? And what's the meaning behind it?
Well, a lot of times people live into I have to, I want to, I need to. I could even say I choose to. But if you don't have the concept that at the very moment you are always at choice about what you choose to do, I'm at choice about whether I want to talk with you or not talk with you, share with you or not share with you. I'm always at choice. So that was the significant change that took place is when I really got it, that I'm always at choice about whether I'm going to take care of my kids or not take care of my kids, whether I'm going to write this book or not write this book.
Mm.
Being at choice is a very powerful, for me, it's a much more powerful statement because it gives me the accountability and the responsibility to take action.
Hmm. And I think that's the very key point. It gives you the ability to take action. Where
Yeah.
before, if you don't know you have choices, how do you take action?
Or you might have so many choices, you don't know how to choose. So part of my book is helping people make choices.
I was just going to ask, so what happens when you have a whole bunch of choices?
There are ways to deal with it.
And that's a lot of people I've talked to. It's like, I've got this and this. I don't know which way to go because they feel they have so many choices and don't know how to narrow it down to find something. And I call it vapor lock. You get to a point where you don't know which way to go and you're just stuck. And it's like you're in a vapor lock, but you always can move. You're never really stuck.
Yeah. Actually, that it's an interesting thing because I learned that lesson experientially from
Mhm.
a consultant that came in and coached the marketing department at the company that I worked at. Now, a lot of the guys kind of poofed this guy's idea about how to make choices, but I began to use it in my facilitation experience because I'd be working with companies that had lots of choices, and how do you narrow those down to the core choices that you need to make to have your business succeed? And it it's a it's just a simple process of doing what I call matched pairs, where you can't make more than 5 choices in priority order. So you get,
Oh,
what happens is you look at them all, and some are high, medium, and low. You know that, you feel it, you know that, it feels in your body. So you do the high, medium, lows, and then you take the highs out. And what you do is you match, try to get them down to maybe 10 or 15, and then you match one against one, one against two, one against three, one against four, one against five. So you're just matching that one per against all the others that are there. And then you come back through and you do two, you match two against all the ones that are there. And eventually you end up with a list that's pretty close to the actual reality of the priorities that you want to work.
wow, that's very impressive. Very impressive. And all that is also spelled out in the book that you
Yes, it is,
created?
yeah. Because it's important to know how to make choices. I mean,
Yes.
and people that are, I'm working with a young woman today. She's what people would call on the spectrum restless. Has so many ideas. Well, yeah, but there are some core ideas that you really like, you just are afraid of.
Yeah.
Most of the time, there's fear involved. So, but if we could give you to be really clear about what you want, then you make the choices to manifest that.
And I think that's a big thing is being clear on your choices. I mean, I hear it again and again, and you mentioned it earlier. What is my purpose? How do I find my purpose? Can
Yeah.
you also do this same type of exercise to help you find some of your purpose, things that you may feel very excited about and things you don't so much?
Another exciting lesson, a belief system that I got at 27 when I was doing Toastmasters is a guy's had just gotten promoted to a plant manager job.
Mm.
And I was 27, I was a little afraid to speak up, but I said, what do you attribute your success to? He
Mm.
said, well, you know, Larry, I'm not a very smart guy. I didn't finish high school. I did take a GED when I was in the service. But he said, I'm not trying to be braggadocious. It just happens to be the way that it is. I think 3 to 4 times faster than the people that are next to me in production planning. So what I think is the secret is to find out what your gifts and your talents are, to be creative in your gifted and your talented areas. But the third and the most important thing is you have to implement your creations. A lot of people have a lot of great ideas, but they don't take action. So I thought about that for about 6 months. It's not an easy process to really get in touch with your true gifts and talents. And I suspect that you've had to wrestle with that question yourself.
Absolutely. We're human and it's a tough one at time. It can be a very tough choice.
Right. But once I realized that there were certain things that I did in my job that I would do above and beyond the call of duty just because it was fun. I enjoyed it.
Mm.
I enjoyed, in this particular case, creating marketing solutions to problems. I didn't realize that in the area of seeing patterns, I took a test that confirmed it. I see patterns at the 97th percentile. I see them before other people see them. So,
They have a test for that?
yeah, the Highlands Ability Battery.
I'm like, what is that?
Well, there's all sorts of assessments, but this one happens to be one that fit me. And so I've tried to help people find their gifts and talents. And there's programs like DISC and, you know, the one that Patrick Lenciani has, trying to find out what your strength is. But for me, it's what are the things that happen easily that I can do, that I can think that, and if I can get people to start reflecting on what it is that makes them feel good,
Mm.
what that makes them feel like they can do it. A lot of times, unfortunately, the way that we reframe retirement is that we stop thinking. We want to relax. Well, my sense is those people never learned how to enjoy work. When I looked at retirement and I said, well, retire is sleeping down, laying down, letting go of my job, I says, I don't want to do that. I'm having a good time. So I want to keep having a good time. So I chose to refire instead of retire.
Refire. I like that. I like that.
And that's
That's
what
a
I'm
good
doing
one.
now is I'm refired. And somewhere in the story, we were talking about how did I make a choice. So after I looked and realized that Dodie wasn't coming back, I realized that I needed to make a choice. The book was written. I could now start to share the book, which is something I hadn't done before. It was something that I had to learn how to do new, but hopefully it's going well.
Absolutely. And I feel she was such a big catalyst to help you writing that book, to help giving you that space to write it and a little bit of the courage. It feels like you need a little bit more courage to get that book out there.
Oh, I felt sorry for how many times I asked her to rewrite the copy.
Well, hopefully she didn't have the old typewriter where you had to rip out the page and start
No,
over again.
she she just was gifted in that area. She just had a sense that was pretty terrific.
Absolutely. Yes. And you've been going through this, you started writing this out, but I know you've been working on thinking about writing the book for 20 years.
Right.
And then what was the cause to like say, now it's time? Why did you do it? Now it's time.
Uh, Now it's time. I don't know, a switch just took place someplace along the line when I just probably was checking out my fears and
Mm,
saying, are you going to let this fear lead you or are you going to conquer this fear? And you've got one life. There aren't, there's no do-overs in this life that we have. We either
yes.
do it or we don't do it. And once I made the decision that, well, if you're going to write a book, you better do it. You better get on with it and go through all the learning that you're going to have to go through to publish the book. You asked me earlier about how I approach learning. I used to always be afraid to fail.
Mm,
I was a hyperachiever and I always wanted to do well and get good grades and all the other stuff. But it wasn't until I learned that learning was about zigzagging to success by learning from your
mm.
failures. And so failures were welcomed. If I don't do a good job on this podcast, for example, I'll go back and review it and see what I have to improve for the next one. But
I think you're doing a perfect job.
thank you.
But I like your approach to that, where you're saying, I tell people all the time, I'm going to be learning till the day I die because why not? There's so much to learn. There's so much this life has to offer. And
Amen.
how can you ever learn everything about it? But man, I'm going to try my best.
Just think how satisfying that is. I mean,
Absolutely.
you feel more grounded, more fulfilled, more expanded. All sorts of good things happen as a result of learning. But it is interesting how some people have a mindset against learning. They just say, oh, well, I don't want to learn anything more. It's too much work, blah, blah, blah. And of
Mm.
course, part of that is I'm afraid to fail.
That's something very, very true. And I've got to say, for me, I was afraid to fail a lot throughout my life. It's like I always wanted to do my best because I never wanted to fail.
Yeah.
And some of that, I'm just going to go back a little bit. Where do you think your belief in being afraid to fail came from?
Oh, this book, Positive Intelligence by Shazad, talks about what he calls the saboteurs.
Mhm.
And they're things that are kind of set up on us. They're set up to protect us when we're kids. but later on they actually hold us back.
Yeah.
And so they did some studies, always studies, right?
Yeah. Got to have the studies.
Anyway, the the part that is the challenging part is the judge. We judge ourselves, we judge others, we judge circumstances. And once you learn that there's a judge in your life, and there's different kinds of judges, like there's the hyperachiever, there's the avoider, there's uh, uh, the one that takes care of everybody,
No.
the hypervigilant. There's only seven of them, but you get in touch with. You take this. There's a saboteur assessment. It's free on the internet,
Hmm.
and you find out what your saboteurs are, and you can find out what's holding you back and what you have to deal with.
That's something really important because a lot of people, they feel the fear. They feel like they're stuck and they can't go anywhere, or they feel they're stuck in grief, but they don't know where it's coming from. Grief is obvious because you're missing someone. And
Right.
that's something where I think, even though grief is very heavy a lot, I think it's easier for people to understand where the grief is coming from, where versus where they feel like there's self-sabotage coming from, and they can't quite bring it down to where is that coming from? What is causing, because I'm going to be honest, there was a lot of things I was self-sabotaging myself on. And I didn't realize it, but once I realized it, I started really digging into where did that belief come from that I felt I had to self-sabotage. And is that something you had to deal with yourself, or?
Mine lasted for 55 years. The it turns out that I always wanted to please my dad. It was
Mm,
really important that I would do things that made him satisfied with him, and I never thought he loved me
yeah.
until my mom was passing away. And I said, Mom, you always said that Dad loved me, but I never felt it. Why do you say that he loved me? And so there's this book out called The Five Love Languages. And we went through the book and looked at the love languages. And by the time we got done, her telling the stories of the things that he did, and I knew that he did them. He made my Christmas toys. He helped me
Mm.
with my paper route. He helped me go to get my first job. He supported me in getting my first job. He allowed me to go and work at a Jewish boys camp when he had a different feeling about how I should be about stuff like that. I just felt so bad when I got done. He was acts of service. What I
Mm.
was looking for was a positive attention and physical touch. So I never got what I wanted from him, but he was doing the best he could with what he learned because the thing about empathy, finding out, well, what happened to his life? Where did he learn about getting love? He was abandoned. His mother died when he was 2 years old. And he lived with
Wow.
his grandmother with about seven, eight brothers of his mother that kept telling him, "You're not one of us. You don't belong here." So
Mm.
I had to go up to the cemetery and apologize to him for what had happened. And just, I so appreciate him today for what he did for me. But I had to go through that experience to realize that I was the one who said, wherever you go, there you are, or the other one about be an observer of the observer that you are. I
Yes.
always had him blamed for the problem, and the problem was me in terms of how I was looking at his life.
And that's something really important. And I've got to say, for especially some of the older generation and even the younger ones now, they're still learning because they're coming from areas where they didn't show their love. I mean, that wasn't really shown. You didn't
Right?
you didn't have as much of, oh, I love you, I'm proud of you. You didn't have that.
Yeah.
And that's something really hard for a lot of people to not hear that, to not have that experience. And I love how you went through and really dug into it and said, how did he show his love? And then discovering it. And my team is saying there's a lot, especially men, where you're taught not to show your emotions. You're taught that from little on so many times. You fall down, don't cry. And it starts early. And it's really seeing that a lot of people are loving other people just in ways that are different than maybe our expectations.
Which you're just leading me into one more thing I want to share about is working with horses.
I was going to ask about that.
Equine guided coaching is really for men who are struggling getting in touch with their feelings. That's why it works so well when people are dealing with PTSD, is
Mm,
that for some reason there's a connection when you're out there with a horse. And I'm not talking about riding horses or being a cowboy or rodeo or any of that stuff. I'm talking about working with a horse from a therapy kind of an animal. And again, I've just learned from other people. And that was, oh, you asked what was the breakthrough? That's the the breakthrough was an equine guided experience that I had when I was learning about the body, and I had this experience with the horse, and I could get the horse to walk and to trot and to even canter. And then the coach said, "Well, I'd like to have you bring that horse down to a walk and just keep the horse walking," which was an interesting belief system because I was trying to get business teams to really go for it all the time. And
yeah.
she said, "You know, even the cowboys didn't gallop all the way to California."
That's a good point.
It's a very good point. And I thought, my God, what a belief system I have. Trying to get these guys to go, go, go. So anyway, that night after that, I had this experience where we're in a group of, let's say, 10 people, and I knew that some of the women were really struggling in their relationship because the horse would walk all through their space all the time. And even for guys, they have the power to get the horse to walk at the edge of a lunge line. And so anyway, I stopped, and the horse stopped. And for 20 minutes, I just bawled out there in front of all those other people. Embarrassing. But that night, I felt like I had a spear that came down through my neck into my body. Maybe your people could help explain what that was. But anyway, what that gave me is a realization that I had something that I needed to share with some other people. And I did, and that began my process for being able to share my story.
And the spear, I just keep feeling they keep showing the spear, but more coming from like I call them the star nations, other universes, where it's a spear of more of not so much that, but that divine energy
Yeah,
coming into you to say that you do have more. It's time. The point is now. It's now as you've come to the point of going to the next direction. You're ready to go. And it had to get your attention because I just this is kind of a little bit of a reading altogether, but um Dodie is coming through and said sometimes you need a little knock over the head for a bigger attention than regular.
that would be her.
So, so it's
Uh,
more of just they had to get your attention one way or another, and that was one way that you couldn't dismiss it. It was so vibrant and real for you and visceral that
yeah,
you could not dismiss that one.
no, I couldn't. And it really, it didn't, it took about 2 years from the time that I had that experience to taking care of some things with the University of Minnesota and moving on. And once I got the courage to move on and make the choice, it got done. And I'm here
And it,
now.
and that's the thing with and it's interesting you brought up the horse because we are into now the year of the fire horse, if you go with the Chinese New Year.
Well,
And also the horse is also just as you said, it doesn't mean you have to ride them. It doesn't mean you have to gallop them, but just to be with them and be in their presence. They do hold a presence. And
yes.
my team is kind of laughing. They're saying, but just remember, horses are like everyone else. There are some that are a little feisty and ones that are very loving. So it doesn't cover one.
Well, that's the course that I'm taking from Elizabeth is to take touch by a horse is the personalities of horses. I did this thing. I would always go out with a horse person, somebody that knew horses. I didn't know horses, but I could watch the horse and I could tell what was going on with the people. So you could intervene, but the horse was kind of guiding you that way. And no, but I've just had powerful experiences with horses and believe in them. It's something that I'd still like to do, but at my age, it's a little, I haven't figured out how to put it together. I haven't made a choice yet to do it.
I'm sure you will be making a choice on
Thank
that.
you. There's a lot of passion in it for me. So,
And a lot of times it's just sitting, especially when you have a nice calm horse, and my team is laughing, not the feisty one, but the calm one,
yeah,
where you can really just sit in presence together. That's what's so important, to just sit in presence. And that's something to do, whether it's a horse, an animal you may have, or a
right.
person you love so deeply, to just sit in presence is so important. It really gets you in tune to who you are.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And as you started going through this whole process, I know we're going, I think I'm getting up to our time here, so I just want to be cognizant of that. But
Okay.
I just want to know from you, as you went through the grief and as you wrote this book, did you feel, were you going through the grief again as you wrote the book, or was it more healing, or had you kind of been at that point, were you more the observer when you were writing it?
Um, no, there were times when the grief came up again, but I was really celebrating the learning.
Mm.
I didn't realize I hadn't put it together how many major moves I had made, decisions that I had made about my belief systems and how I would lead my life and where I got those ideas from because they weren't just ideas that I came up with. They were people that I learned from that I tested out the ideas. I didn't accept anything that didn't work for me. But
Right.
all the ones that worked for me are the things that I wrote up in the book.
That's awesome. And I've got to ask, if you had to give some advice for people who are going through grief, and my team is bringing me in real quick. They're saying that for your book, it's about grief of maybe a spouse, a person in your life, but also a grief of life itself, where maybe things didn't go right in your life.
Right.
What are what are some things you can, is it possible for everyone to work through that? Do you feel on your level?
I think we owe it to ourselves to work through it. If we believe that we're important enough or that we exist, so therefore we have something to offer, it
Mm,
really is important that we take the challenge and open ourselves up to other ways of looking at the problem. It's
I like,
it's a difficult time right now. I'm having a difficult time looking at the world right now. But I know that I'm not accountable for tsunamis, snowstorms, hailstorms, automobile accidents. I'm not accountable for leukemia. I'm not accountable for Dodie falling off the chair. I mean, those things happen beyond my control. So I have to go back and look at the things that come to me also that are beyond my control, which is all my blessings. So the more that I stay in blessings, the more that I'm able to handle all the stuff that's going on.
and that's true. And for those of you who don't know, I am not a sugarcoater. The world is a little crazy right now. It's going to get a little crazier yet. But it's to know that we can go through it. We are making a difference. And everything you're doing, helping people find their peace, work through grief. And like you lost your job along with everything that was going on. That's huge to go through everything at once and to be able to know no matter what, we are going to succeed. You will succeed. I think that's something, hope, you
Yeah.
give people hope. And that's something I feel is, I think that's why it took you 20 years to get the book done. It needed to be the right time.
Well, I needed the 20 years to learn for sure.
But it's also a time, I think more people now more than ever need hope and to know they can make it through and to know how to do it. And that's something with your book, you're bringing people through it. Here's steps, here's things you can do to bring yourself through it, to find a way to just figure out who you are and what you need to do to move forward. I think it's the right time for your book.
Oh, thank you. It, I don't have all the answers. I know that. There are still more things. People are doing some wonderful things out there to help others. These are the ones that came to me and I learned from and I apply in my life pretty rigorously, actually. So,
Nice. And I think that's something to realize. None of us have all the answers, but
no.
together, all of us have some of the answers, and together it creates books like this.
The one of the breakthroughs for me in my business life is I used to think that it was important for me to have the answers.
Hmm.
Then I learned how to facilitate problem solving sessions. It's placed, it was some company named Synectics that had analyzed what made meetings good and what made meetings bad and what could they do to have more good meetings.
No.
And that allowed me to accomplish so much using the wisdom of the group to solve the problem. That took all the responsibility from me and it leveraged all the ideas that other people in the group had. And they came up with some really innovative and creative solutions.
Wow.
I was just taking them through the process. That would be nice to think that that's what I'm doing with this book too, is that I'm just taking them through the process. All the ideas aren't there, but there's some good ones that can help you have a better life.
And I think that's so important. And really, we're in a time of collaboration. It's of people coming together. I mean, look at years ago, there wasn't Zoom, podcasts, all this other stuff. And now look at in YouTube, all of the different ways people are reaching each other, collaborating. People that never would have had a chance before. We're
Right.
collaborating. We're coming across different ways of doing things. So it is the right time for all of it. And I think that's so important when you said when you had when you facilitate problem solving, you're using the wisdom of the group to solve the problems.
Yes.
That's so important because so many of us and my team is all sniggling and there's so many people that are listening that also think they have to carry everything and have to take care of everything. And it's realizing that there is a community there and to reach out and be part of that and not try to do it all your own. We're not meant to, we're meant to work together.
Give yourself permission to ask for help.
Absolutely. It's so important, especially now,
Yeah.
especially now.
Yeah.
Well, Larry, I'm having so much fun, but I know I've got to get you out of here in a little bit. So, is there something you'd like to say or cover before we close for today?
Just an enormous thanks.
Oh,
It's been a wonderful conversation. I've loved sharing it with you. I'd love sharing ideas back and forth. I loved hearing about what you do and how you do it and how you help people. So that's, you're just adding one more lesson along the way here for me. But I just, you're doing wonderful work by yourself, and I appreciate you extending yourself to me to allow me to share my work. Thank you.
oh, thank you so much, Larry. And the one thing for me that I didn't want to do podcasts and my team kept pushing me. I'm like, but I don't know if it's going to be what I want to do, how that's going to work out. But for me, they kept telling me it's all about community and bringing people together and showing people that they're not alone. And there are so many options at choices for them out there. And to show them, here's people, reach out, and here's the knowledge. And for me, I feel so honored, so blessed to be able to interview people like you because I learned so much. And for those of you who don't know, along the whole time through the interview, I take notes on things I learned from the people I interview. And if anybody's ever interested on my newsletters, I have in there what I've learned from my guests. So for me, there's so much knowledge, so many people sharing with their heart, with their souls, and I feel so lucky to be a part of it. So thank you, Larry.
I have one more thank you. Thank you for reaching me with Dodie's comments. I love the fact her sassy, classy way showed up even today.
That she is. And I usually don't get quite so worked up in interviews, but boy, Dodie wanted to come through today, and she started before we even got on. And it to me, she's not one that she wanted to make sure she didn't miss anything
That's funny.
either.
So
But
true.
for me, I sometimes get in a little bit of trouble with people in my family and friends because I'm talking about people and they have to ask me, is this a person that's physical or is this someone that's not physical? Because for me, they're all the same. To
Yeah,
me, I feel like I have Dodie right here with me. I
yeah.
feel she's right here with me and we're just having a conversation and she's having fun seeing you and so proud of what you're doing. And she's proud you're continuing and not stopping. She's so proud of that. And for me, those on the other side, they're no different than us. They just don't have a physical body. And you're starting to tap into her also and feeling her presence. And to me, that's so comforting to me to see others be able to start feeling their loved ones.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of who you've become, what you're doing. I'm very excited for everything you have going forward, and so is Dodie.
We'll talk again, New London.
Yes. Well, Larry, this has been a very interesting conversation. Didn't quite go the way I anticipated, but I never anticipate anything. I just let it flow.
I like the way it went. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Larry. Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much for your knowledge and your heart. I appreciate it so much. And also, for everyone else out there, make sure to watch the next episodes of Edge Talk Radio. They are on the first and third Wednesdays of the month at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. But if you've missed any past episodes, no worries. You can go on to either my or Edge Magazine's YouTube channel and watch all the past episodes. And they're pretty much available on most of the downloadable podcast areas. So go ahead and find them out there and check it out. Or you can go to my website or Edge Magazine's website and find those downloadable podcasts also. And I just want to say thank you all for listening, expanding, and amplifying our universe together. Have an absolutely amazing day. Thank you all.
Thank you.